Breaking news coming out today in the past couple of hours is take a look. We're going to watch the live streams pouring in. 2 National Guards members have been shot near the White House. The suspect is in custody. The police are saying the shooting occurred close to Farragut Metro Station. Mayor says the incident was targeted. So we're hearing that this is happening right now. Now, this is breaking news. I'm going to get you the latest so that way you can see it for yourself, what is currently going on. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the video footage coming out so that way you can see it for yourself.
2 National Guard members shot this afternoon less than a mile from the White House, and we now can report they have died. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey announcing the news on X, writing in part, "It is with great sorrow that we can confirm both members of the West Virginia National Guard who were shot earlier today in Washington, D.C. have passed away from their injuries. These brave West Virginians lost their lives in service of their country." President Trump condemning the act, writing on Truth Social, "The animal that shot the 2 National Guardsmen is also severely wounded, but regardless will pay a very steep price. God bless our great National Guard and all of our military and law enforcement. These are truly great people. I, as President of the United States, and everyone associated with the office of the presidency, am with you." D.C. police confirming that a suspect is in custody. The president is now in Florida at his Mar-a-Lago estate, while the White House is in lockdown. And FBI Director Kash Patel says the FBI is engaged in assisting with the investigation. Fox News correspondent Mark Meredith is on the scene, and he joins us now. Mark, what's the update?
Joey, good afternoon. A tragedy unfolding right here on the streets of D.C., as you mentioned, just a few blocks away from the White House. The latest news coming from the governor of West Virginia, the commander-in-chief of the West Virginia National Guard, confirming that 2 of his service members have been killed on the streets of Washington, D.C. This attack happening a few minutes before 3 p.m. this afternoon outside of the Farragut West Metro Station. That's one of the more popular stations here in D.C., 3 different train lines that run through. This was also an attack that appeared to happen just outside of the station. I was hearing from a source who had a good vantage point from this, where you could see that those service members were simply right outside of a bus station. It was like a glass enclosure in addition to where the actual train station is, and that's where it appears those gunshots occurred. The suspect also in custody. No update yet on his condition, but you can imagine here the tremendous loss that the entire city of D.C. as well as our neighbors in West Virginia are also facing right now. Where this attack occurred is also very important because of the symbolic of it. We're just so close to the White House. The National Guard deployments have been a huge moment for the Trump administration. They've made it their mission to try to clean up the crime in D.C., and there's been a lot of political controversy, Joey, with that decision. But these troops have been out on the streets now for several months, and in addition to that, we have seen them come and go from different states, different deployments that have sent their troops. I live in D.C., and I've seen them even as recently as Sunday evening. I even thanked them as I was going back to my house to say thank you for your service, because it is a thankless job, and so many of these National Guards members have been out there on a holiday weekend, nights, weekends, away from their families. And there had been some criticism from some that they felt that this wasn't an accurate deployment, but these people were obviously targeted here, and there's an indication that this was somebody that wanted to send a message. That we know that the president, vice president, all top levels of the government have been responding to this in real time. And while it is a holiday weekend, Joey, I've seen a number of law enforcement agencies, ATF, FBI, Secret Service, D.C. Police, Metro Transit Police, you name them, they've been out here trying to respond to this. We are expecting an update from D.C. Police within the next few minutes or so. Mayor Bowser, our D.C.'s Democratic mayor, who just announced yesterday she's not even going to seek another term, would also likely have plenty to say about this, because this is going to have repercussions all across not only the district but around the country. In fact, I'm struck by how much this is already becoming an international story, because we are only a block away from the White House. You've got international media out here that are also trying to piece together exactly what happened. Vice President Vance already addressing the situation while he was in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I would imagine the president will have more to say on this. I don't think he has any public events on his schedule today, but he's been active on Truth Social. I also heard from somebody who was on the ground that Kash Patel, the FBI director, had also stopped by. I did not see that with my own eyes, but I would imagine at any news conference he would make his presence known as well. Joey?
Yeah, Mark, you're there on the ground. I just heard you say that you feel like this is seems to be very targeted, and someone might have been trying to send a message. Have you spoken to people on the ground, witnesses, or someone involved that has confirmed that? Is that a hunch? Where are you coming from with that?
No, absolutely. We are still waiting for the official word to come from D.C., but given that we're hearing from the top law enforcement officials as well as the president himself, if it were to be just a random D.C. street crime, I'm not sure we would see necessarily such a staunch response for there. In terms of witnesses, yes, I have spoken to witnesses who came out here after they saw the aftermath of it, people that basically saw people running away from the scene. These people were curious as to, Joey, what was happening in real time. Yes, the official motive, what that'll be up to law enforcement to announce. But you have to, of course, take into consideration of where we are standing 2 blocks away from the White House, who these people were. They were in their uniform. I saw from a source, from a photo that was sent to me, that these people absolutely had their uniform on, and on the back of one of the victims had the National Guard in big white lettering and a black sign. So these people absolutely would have stood out. They weren't plain clothes. These people were certainly known to make their presence here. I would imagine at some point we're going to be seeing, Joey, a lot of reflection about what their mission was, what can be done to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. And you're right, Joey, motive, a huge part of the equation at this point. We'll wait for D.C. police to give us the final word on that on this Thanksgiving Eve. Joey?
Absolutely, yeah. We look forward to that press conference, hopefully within the next few minutes. Mark, thanks for being there and stay safe. All right, we're going to bring in Paul Morrow now, Fox News contributor, retired NYPD inspector. Paul, thanks for staying on with us. I know you've been on already today. You just heard Mark's report there. He kind of went so far as to say he believes this was targeted and maybe even sending a message, not necessarily assigning a motive, but saying it's kind of almost impossible not to be. What's your take, and are you hearing anything?
So let's try to advance the story a little bit at this point. Obviously, as you said, the atmospheric seemed to be something that was message-driven. Why does that matter? Because if law enforcement does determine that, and that's, I'm sure, why the FBI is heavily involved here, aside from the fact that all of Washington is federal jurisdiction, then what's going to happen is the FBI is going to take the case over, and this is going to go into the terrorism realm. This is a little different from the terrorism charges you normally see. Why? Because it's on federal grounds. Well, all of Washington is federal. And what that does is admit certain federal charges that have the T word, terrorism, in it. If you can establish that motive. What is the motive? To either intimidate or influence a civilian population or to move the policy of the government. So by now I am sure that they have identified the shooter, and they are going to be scraping backwards here, first of all, to make sure, did he act alone, and then to see what is the motive and where do we go from here.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We're looking at something that's happened so close to the White House. We've got National Guard there. I actually got a text from someone involved in the Secret Service that apparently responded really quickly and was a part of that. So obviously that shows just how close to the White House it was. It's not lost on me. It's the day before Thanksgiving. I was sitting here last New Year's Day hosting Fox and Friends, seeing an attack on people in New Orleans. You know, how much of a heightened awareness do we have going into a holiday with so much traffic and confusion and opportunity for people to slip through the cracks, I guess?
Yeah, it's a good point. And you know what? It does happen. It seems like every year in New York, we've had a number of these. They don't, thankfully, rise to this level, but you do get threats around the holidays very, very often. And it's just one of these things that it's an emotional time of the year. It seems to set people off. But also the cities are flooded with people who do things that are, of course, part of our American tradition. Come in to see the tree, come in to see the lights, to do the shopping. And unfortunately, that makes for a target-rich environment. So we would always get, doing counterterrorism here in New York for years, we would always get threats around the holidays, things that were related to the holidays, things that were related to holiday events. And at this point, you know, look, we don't know for sure. But the fact that this happens within the penumbra of the holidays, that also feels like something of an indicator. So we'll just have to see, is there a motive that's apparent? Is there a manifesto? Is there stuff online? They're going to be looking at all of this, and they're getting their arms around it now. By now, I would think the FBI is probably very close, if not already, asserting jurisdiction, because you need one person in charge here. That's key. There's a lot of agencies in D.C. You know, they're all running around bouncing into each other. Get one person in charge and run this thing.
President Trump.
Yeah, Paul, that's my next question here. So you have experience in counterterrorism, working in the city that really helped invent counterterrorism post 9/11. I mean, the levers that New York City can pull are unlike any other city. But Washington, D.C. is the capital of our country. The federal government is, by and large, located there. I know that post 9/11, a lot of the concerns and complaints were that these different agencies didn't talk to each other. And it seems like when we have a school shooting or any type of major incident, we learn after the fact this person was on some sort of medication or there was this marker, this red flag. As we move into this, looking at D.C. specifically, what agencies are there? I mean, if they have this person's name, can they backfill with all that information now and start gathering it almost instantaneously? Is it that there's information on people sitting there and you just need an incident like this to bring it to the top?
Yes. The short answer is yes. You know, we spend a lot of time beating up on our federal agencies and law enforcement, but I can tell you that all of them are going to answer the bell on this. This is such an horrific thing that there are people all over the area in D.C. who have decided, the heck with Thanksgiving, I'm going in. And they are scrambling to do exactly what you're talking about. And you have so many agencies involved here. Capitol Police, for instance, they do a lot of prophylactic work as well, scraping the internet, looking for, in fact, their head of analysis used to work for me. He's a very, very competent guy. So they have a guy like that down there who's going to be dumping his computers, getting his analysts in to scrape backwards. They, I'm sure by now, if not identified or close to identifying this person, the FBI's could be doing the same, Homeland's could be doing the same, and Parks Police are an underappreciated agency. In fact, the federal Parks Police, which have jurisdiction all over D.C., they're a very visible presence down there, and it was Parks Police Aviation which rode to the rescue here and attempted to airlift the two wounded to the hospitals. All right, I just got that information in. So all of these agencies, trust me when I tell you, they're going to be pulling together, but it has to be organized. And that's a key so that we get to good answers fast.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not getting any good news on the two individuals that their lives were taken, that were murdered today. But hopefully, we get some more information on motive and who this is, and hopefully making sure there isn't some sort of, threat still out there.
Hey, Sean Hannity.
There you have it, you guys. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, there's a lot of people in the comments that are saying that the two individuals are not dead, that they're in critical condition. I'm trying to verify that right now. Once I get some information, I'll let you know. Now, this video came out 45 minutes ago, the one I just played, so there could be some more updates. Now, here is another update. We now have Pete Hegseth responding to this, this coming out just 19 minutes ago. So let's go ahead and take a look at this and see if they've got more information and confirm the condition of the two individuals, the National Guards that were shot in D.C. just about a couple of hours ago. Let's take a look.
President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army, to the National Guard to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful. The drop in crime has been historic. The increase in safety and security has been historic. But if criminals want to conduct things like this, violence against America's best, we will never back down. President Trump will never back down. That's why the American people elected him. America and our warriors, our National Guardsmen, are strong.
Hey, Sean.
There you have it, you guys. So that was Pete Hegseth just a little while ago.
It is great to be here in beautiful Fort Campbell,
Here's J.D.
Kentucky.
Vance.
And let me just say, I want to say first, before we get started, on a somber note, we had, and some of you may have seen this on your phones or on social media, but apparently there was a shooting outside the White House just a couple of hours ago. And we're still learning everything. We still don't know the motive. There's a lot that we haven't yet figured out. But what we do know is that a couple of National Guardsmen were injured in the line of duty. And first of all, I want everybody who's a person of faith to say a prayer for those two National Guardsmen, that they're able to spend Thanksgiving with their families instead of losing their lives, because I understand they're still in pretty tough condition. But I think it's a somber reminder that soldiers, whether they're active duty, reserve, or National Guard, our soldiers are the sword and the shield of the United States of America. And as a person who goes into work every single day in that building and knows that there are a lot of people who wear the uniform of the United States Army, let me just say very personally, thank them for what they're doing. We're grateful to them, and we're praying that they're going to be safe and they're going to spend Thanksgiving with their families. God bless them. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the business of the Army and about what you're doing and about why it's important to the United States of America and why we are proud of you. Every single one of our soldiers here in Fort.
There you have it, you guys. So that was J.D. Vance just a little while ago. That was released about an hour ago, that video clip from Fox News. And he said that they are in critical condition. Now, we just heard the report maybe about 40 minutes ago that they had passed.
All right,
now,
Fox
let's go ahead and take a look at this as well here. I've got more news coming in. I'm just trying to keep you up to date on the latest. Let's see what we've got here, as it seems like we're getting bits of information pouring in. I'm hearing some people say that it was a targeted attack. Apparently, Kash Patel has made a statement. I'm going to see if I can find that for you. Let's take a look to see what else we've got. This coming out 44 minutes ago. J.D. Vance on the shooting says, say a prayer for the national troops. And then also we've got here breaking, multiple National Guard members shot, conflicting fatality reports. So we're hearing different reports coming out. Let's take a look here.
And now we are unfortunately getting new details, and it is very tragic regarding the shooting of the two guardsmen. We are learning from the governor of West Virginia, Patrick Morrissey, saying it is with great sorrow that we can confirm both members of the West Virginia National Guard who were shot earlier today in Washington, D.C., have passed away from their injuries. These brave West Virginians lost their lives in the service of their country. We are in ongoing contact with federal officials as the investigation continues. Our entire state grieves with their families, their loved ones, and the National Guard community. West Virginia will never forget their service or their sacrifice, and we will demand full accountability for this horrific act. Again, confirmed from the governor of West Virginia, the two guardsmen have died from that tragic shooting in Washington, D.C. We want to go back out now to the coverage of Fox 5 D.C. They continue to bring the very latest updates. Let's listen as they continue to give live out in D.C. Let's listen in.
Every day they do what they're going to do, and these people protest. They throw bottle rockets at them, and today it looks like an ambush. And you know what? When they call 911, guess what? The police go, the National Guard shows up. We do our jobs, and yet they condemn us. They say fry like pigs. You got these advocates who are more concerned about rights of defendants and criminals, and will go after law enforcement. But the one thing is, they do all this to law enforcement, and we're the only profession that turns around. And we respond with a 911. We don't care what color you are. We don't care what your religion is. We don't care your politics. We say, where's your emergency? And we go. And these National Guard men are not trained, but they're thrown into law enforcement positions when they're there to make a difference.
Absolutely. And we see that presence, that extreme law enforcement presence right now on the screen. I do want to read this statement from West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrissey. He just released this statement here in the last few minutes after we have learned that two National Guards members from West Virginia have been killed in this shooting. Governor Morrissey saying, Denise and I are devastated by the news that two members of the West Virginia National Guard were shot earlier today in Washington, D.C. According to reports, both members did not survive. We're in direct contact with our Guard and other officials and are working to obtain the most accurate information as quickly as possible. He goes on to say, our prayers are with these brave service members, their families, and the extraordinary men and women of our Guard who put themselves on the line every day. West Virginia stands united behind them. We will do everything in our power to support their families as they endure this unimaginable loss and will not rest until justice is served. If you're just now joining us as we head into the 4 o'clock hour, we can confirm that two Guard members from West Virginia were shot and killed just a mere block away from the White House on this Thanksgiving Eve. This happened in the 2 o'clock hour. We know 3 people in total were transported from the scene. We do not know the identity or the condition of that third person, but D.C. police is saying they do have a suspect in custody.
And now
There you have it, you guys. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. We're hearing that they believe that those individuals have passed. Yeah, there's some people in the comments saying that they had to walk back those statements, that they're saying that they're actually still alive. So I'm going to be keeping an eye out to see, but let's go ahead and take a look here. I've got a live feed pulled up right now. Let's see what this has to say. DC mayor calls shooting of the National Guard members a targeted attack. So they're saying that this was intentional, specifically going after those Guard members. I see somebody saying disregard the governor, that he is wrong. Some people are saying that they're alive. Some people are saying they're not alive. Now, we'll see. Now, this was updated 22 minutes ago. Here's the live coverage. Live updates. 2 National Guard members shot near the White House. Suspect in custody. 2 Guard members from West Virginia are in critical condition, and the suspect has also been injured as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. We can see the latest. Here's what we know so far. 2 National Guard members were shot this afternoon in what appeared to be a targeted attack near the White House and are in critical condition, Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser has said. The West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey said in a statement that the Guard members were from his state and had died, but he later walked that back, saying his office had received conflicting reports about their status. So for those of you saying that they are not dead, that seems to be confirmed here. They're saying that they initially said that, then they had to walk it back. Washington police said a suspect is in custody and the scene is secure. President Donald Trump said the shooter was also severely injured. Now, let's take a look here. 2 Guard members are in critical condition. Bowser and FBI Director Kash Patel said that the 2 Guard members are in critical condition. At a news conference this evening, Bowser described the incident as a targeted shooting. Patel said that the case will be treated as an assault on a federal law enforcement officer. Metropolitan Police Executive Assistant Chief Jeffrey Carroll said that the shooting occurred at 2:15 p.m. when a person came around the corner, raised his arm with a firearm, and discharged at the National Guard members. 27 minutes ago, D.C. Mayor says National Guard members were targeted. At a media availability gathering this evening, Bowser called the shooting of 2 National Guard members this afternoon targeted, saying a suspect who was taken into custody appeared to target these guardsmen. Bowser also told reporters that she has briefed Attorney General Pam Bondi, who was speaking to Trump when she called, as well as U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro. Bowser said Pirro assured me that this case will have her office's complete attention. Now, we just saw 34 minutes ago as well, 500 National Guard members, we saw Pete Hegseth speak on this, will be sent to the D.C. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said today that Trump has asked him, and he will in turn ask the Army Secretary to add 500 Guard members to Washington after today's shooting. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful, Hegseth said to reporters. But if criminals want to conduct things like this, violence against America's best, we will never back down. He said the suspect opened fire in a cowardly, dastardly act targeting the best of America. West Virginia lawmakers respond to the shooting. West Virginia's 2 senators decried the shooting of National Guard members from their state. Kathy and I were devastated to hear about the horrific shooting that took place near the White House earlier today involving 2 National Guardsmen, said Senator Jim Justice in a statement. We will keep them in our prayers. Shelley Moore Capito said that she's closely monitoring the terrible news out of D.C., praying for the Guardsmen, their families, and everyone impacted as we learn more, she said in a statement. As of Monday, there were 180 members of the West Virginia National Guard on duty in Washington, according to the Joint Task Force. 2 hours ago, West Virginia governor now says there are conflicting reports on the condition of the Guard members. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey appeared to walk back his previous post announcing that the deaths of the 2 National Guard members, saying his office is now receiving conflicting reports about their conditions. We are now receiving conflicting reports about the conditions of our 2 Guards members and will provide additional updates once we receive more complete information, he wrote on X. Our prayers are with these brave service members, their families, and the entire National Guard community. Now, we saw J.D. Vance address the shooting in remarks to the 2 troops in Kentucky. Vice President J.D. Vance addressed the shooting near the White House in remarks this afternoon to troops at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Apparently, there was a shooting outside of the White House just a couple of hours ago, and we're still learning everything. We still don't know the motive. There's a lot that we haven't yet figured out. But what we do know is that a couple of National Guardsmen were injured in the line of duty. And first of all, I want everybody who's a person of faith to say a prayer for those 2 National Guardsmen that they're able to spend Thanksgiving with their family instead of losing their lives, because I understand they're still in pretty tough condition. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey said this afternoon that both National Guard members had died. Congressional leaders react to the shooting. Multiple members of Congress offered their prayers and support after the shooting of 2 National Guardsmen near the White House. My heart breaks for the victims of this horrific shooting in Washington, D.C. near the White House, said Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. I think that should be Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. I am closely monitoring the situation and am praying for the wounded National Guardmen and their families. I thank all the first responders for their quick action to capture the suspect. House Minority Leader Representative Hakeem Jeffries said on X, praying for the National Guard members wounded in this horrific shooting, thankful for the brave law enforcement officers and first responders who swiftly apprehended a suspect. There is no place for violence in America. House Speaker Mike Johnson praised troops in a social media post this afternoon for their heroic work this year, working around the clock to make our nation's capital safe again, after Trump deployed the National Guard in Washington in August as a part of a crackdown on crime. Now, we are forever grateful for the swift actions of law enforcement and for all those who risk their own lives to protect everyone else, Johnson wrote on X. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said on X, as I monitor the situation that's developing near the White House, my thoughts and prayers are with the National Guardsmen who were attacked this afternoon. I urge you to keep them in prayers too. So there you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts. We had seen about 2 hours ago, it reported that both National Guardsmen had died from their injuries. However, we're hearing now that that is not the case. News is still rolling in on this. We're getting more developing news. And we're going to find out here more about the suspect. I'm going to go ahead and keep looking for information so that way you can get more updates. But let's take a look at some more video footage. And like we've heard, we have now confirmed that it appears that those 2 individuals that were shot, the 2 National Guardsmen outside of the White House, that they are in critical condition, initially reported as having passed, but they're saying, no, that was misinformation that was spread. Now we're hearing they are still alive, but they're saying to please pray for them. Let's go ahead and take a look at some more news coming out on this.
All right, Fox News alert. This is breaking right now. We can confirm now 2 National Guard troops have been shot in Washington near the White House is what we are told. We do not know about their conditions at this time. We are just starting to get brand new details, but we can confirm 2 military personnel have been shot near the White House. Paul Morrow is joining us by phone. He's a retired NYPD inspector. Paul, we're just starting to get details here. What can you add to what we've learned so far?
Well, obviously it's very sketchy at this point, but your mind has to go to the fact that, of course, the National Guard has been deployed as an anti-crime measure in Washington. So while normally we would think of the White House as being, okay, maybe they were securing the White House, that's not really what they do. The National Guard doesn't really have that as a primary role. You have the Capitol Police and Secret Service and other elements there. Can the National Guard be involved? Sure. But where my mind goes right now is the fact that they've been out there using their omnipresence as a deterrent. I keep making this point on the air. A lot of people misunderstand the role of the National Guard in this counter-crime stuff. They're not there to answer 911 calls, to boom doors, to get cats out of trees. Their thing is to stand there, be present, be a deterrent. They look very impressive in the uniforms. We have them here in New York and have since 9/11. Something else that, people miss. We've had them for 25 years here in our transportation hubs. But all you can think right now is just thinking logically, is this sounds like, at this point, you have to consider, is this something relative to the crime deployment that we know is going on in Washington?
Yeah, Paul, to orient our viewers a little bit, so you're looking live at a shot of the White House, but the incident, this shooting apparently occurred at 17th and I Street, which is about 2 or 3 blocks away from the White House. It's right by Lafayette Park and the Farragut Metro. One of the deployments tactics of the National Guard was to put them around these downtown metro stop areas. And so you would normally on any given day see a few Guard troops in these areas. But this location, I'm wondering if you make anything about the fact that this is one of the central areas in downtown, just blocks from the White House.
Well, Griff, I think you make a very good point. That has been one of the sort of salient locations in all of this, going back, in fact, to the riot that we had there around the monument and all of that. So
it's quite conceivable that if somebody is trying, again, we're just speculating now, but if somebody is trying to send a message, you'd have to think that that would be a place that has particular significance. But either way, I was just down in D.C. To testify to Congress, actually, and, you see them around. And I passed two of them, 3 in the morning, 3 in the morning, very late at night. And there they are walking along the street. Just, again, their omnipresence, their eyes and ears, and they were just walking by me, and I made sure to say hello to them and, let them know they were appreciated. But the point is that they're just out there as eyes and ears. And the fact that they are out there just that way, unfortunately, you have to recognize, because their presence is somewhat passive, it makes them potential targets. And I just hope that, both of them are okay, because it's a brave thing to be standing out there and to be told you're here just to be seen. By definition there, that means that people might wish you ill intent can't see you and can take action.
So, as far as what we know right now, this is coming from Jen Griffin and Bill Mears. Two sources are confirming that 2 National Guard members were shot in Washington, D.C. This was about a mile from the White House. The conditions of those 2 guardsmen are not known, and the whereabouts of the alleged shooter are not known. So, Paul, you have to imagine that there is a massive investigation already underway, and search is on.
Oh, absolutely. I can't work the phone right now because I'm on air, but
right.
I'm getting some texts in here. Look,
okay.
Let's just put it that way. There's video everywhere in Washington. They're going to roll these guys up. They're probably all over them already. You got to imagine there's a mad scramble on. One of the things I would just say now is this is important.
Okay.
Somebody has to take charge.
We're starting to get a whole lot more information. The story is going to pick up coverage here after a break. Christy Nome.
There you have it, you guys. Now, all right, I see people pouring in, asking the question, are they dead? Are they alive? We are getting mixed information. We've heard that they have not been confirmed dead, even though that's what was initially reported. We heard that the governor's office had said that, or the mayor, I can't remember. We looked at the live feed and that they said that they had to walk that back and say, sorry, we had heard that they had passed, but in fact, they're in critical condition. Now, here is a video that has come out 7 minutes ago. This one's with Kash Patel. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what he has to say with an update on this.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kash Patel, FBI Director. We're here to brief you on the tragic events that happened today at approximately 2:15 local time in Washington, D.C., where 2 of our brave members of the National Guard and the Department of War were brazenly attacked in a horrendous act of violence. They were shot. They're in critical condition. As you can see behind me, we have assembled the full force of both the federal and state and local law enforcement agencies to bring bear all of our resources to make sure we find the perpetrators responsible for this heinous act. And make no mistake, they will be brought to justice. Since this is an assault on a federal law enforcement officer, this will be treated at the federal level as an assault on a federal law enforcement officer. The FBI will lead out on that mission with our interagency partners, to include the Department of Homeland Security, Secret Service, ATF, DEA, and we're thankful for the mayor's assistance in this matter, the Metropolitan Police Department and their skills in investigating homicides and gun shootings in this city is exceptional. We will work together collaboratively because this is a matter of national security, because this is a matter of pride. President Trump has been informed. We've been in contact with the White House. We will shortchange the American public with no resources to make sure we find and safeguard our nation's capital right here in Washington, D.C., and bring anyone responsible for this heinous act of violence to justice. I would lastly like to add to the American public and the world, please send your prayers to those brave warriors who are in critical condition and their families. They are here serving our country. They are here protecting everyday Americans and citizens around the world in our nation's capital. They are the heroes of this day, and we must remember them on this day and every day, and their families and the sacrifice they have made. I will now turn it over to Chief Carroll of the Metropolitan Police Department. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Carroll. I'm the Executive Assistant Chief here at the Metropolitan Police Department. At approximately 2:15 this afternoon, members of the D.C. National Guard were on high visibility patrols in the area of 17th and I Street Northwest when a suspect came around the corner, raised his arm with a firearm and discharged it at the National Guard members. The National Guard members, there were other members that were in the area. They were able to, after some back and forth, able to subdue the individual and bring them into custody. Within moments, members of law enforcement in the area were also able to assist and bring that individual into custody. At this time, as the director mentioned, the National Guard members are being treated at a local hospital. DC Fire and EMS responded to the scene to provide first aid for those individuals and transport them to a local hospital. The suspect in this case was also transported for treatment at a local hospital. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C., and I, too, want to send my thoughts and prayers to the families of the guardsmen and to the guardsmen who are in critical condition in a local hospital. I am joined by members and leadership from the D.C. National Guard, from the West Virginia National Guard, United States Secret Service, Deputy Mayor Pia, Fire Chief Donnelly, and Metro's General Manager Randy Clark. And we join with the FBI Director in ensuring that MPD investigates, the U.S. Attorney prosecutes this case to the fullest extent of the law. I've had the opportunity to brief U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, who was speaking to the president when I called, as well as the United States Attorney Pirro, who assured me that this case will have her office's complete attention.
Mayor, was there any other suspect?
Chief.
Sure. So no, at this time, there's no indication that there was any other suspect. The one suspect that was involved in this incident, they were shot during the interaction, and they were transported to the hospital for treatment.
Mayor, does this validate the need for the National Guard here in D.C.?
What we know, Andrea, is that this is a targeted shooting. One individual who appeared to target these guardsmen, that individual has been taken into custody.
Mayor, can you tell us any more details on the condition of the two National Guardsmen and whether or not anyone else was injured? And a quick question follow-up for the FBI Director. You said that we'll make sure we find the perpetrators for this act. So just to clarify, the person believed to be responsible is in custody and there are no other suspects?
Sure, so I can start out. Again, Chief Carroll from MPD. So both of the individuals, the Guard members, they are in critical condition in a local hospital at this time being treated. At this point, we have no other suspects. We have reviewed video from the area. It appears, like I said, to be a lone gunman that raised a firearm and ambushed these members of the National Guard, and he was quickly taken into custody by other National Guard members and law enforcement members.
Have you got any sense of motive?
No, at this time, obviously, we're very in the preliminary stages of investigation. There's a lot of things, a lot of agents that are here from various federal agencies, law enforcement agencies. We have the full power of the FBI and our federal partners here in the task force. So we're looking at all those different aspects, but we don't have any motive.
Armed, sir?
The National Guardsmen that were shot, I'm told they were armed.
Did they get off shots?
At this time, that's part of the preliminary investigation.
Can you explain how the suspect was apprehended?
Chief.
Sure. So how the suspect was apprehended, as I said, the individual, the suspect came around the corner. He immediately started firing a firearm at the two National Guard members. So at that time, there were other National Guard members that were in the area. They heard the gunfire. They actually were able to intervene and to kind of hold down the suspect after he had been shot on the ground until law enforcement got there within moments.
And he was shot by a National Guard?
At this point, we're still investigating exactly who shot that individual. It's not clear at this time.
Were there D.C. policemen in the area?
We don't know what kind of weapon. There was D.C. police. It happened right in front of the Metro, although there is no indication that the perpetrator was on the Metro. So there's Metro Transit Police in the area, and obviously being on 17th Street by the White House, Uniformed Division of Secret Service were in the immediate area as well.
What kind of weapon the alleged perpetrator used?
We do not know at this time. It's still under investigation.
We're going to be able to take a couple more.
Has been able to question the suspect, or is his condition so severe that you haven't been able to have a conversation?
Sure. Again, so as I said, we're very preliminary in the investigation, so we're looking to all aspects of who the individual is, his connections. At this time, he's still in the hospital receiving treatment.
And I would just like, hang on, I would just like to add, the reason that this suspect is in custody is because of the bravery of the men and women of the National Guard who responded due to their extensive training to secure American lives today, there was not any further injury and any further shootings. We should highlight the fact that the men and women of law enforcement, the interagency, the Department of War, and the National Guard executed their training with great precision today and prevented an even greater tragedy from befalling us. These National Guardsmen are heroes, and we must pray for their safety and their speedy recovery. And as the chief said, we are in the preliminary stages of this investigation. We will run down every single lead, every piece of evidence. This is the power of the U.S. government at its best at the state, local, and federal level. That is why this interagency group is standing behind us to assure America and the world that we will continue to keep D.C. safe. And thankfully, we have Metropolitan Police Department, the National Guardsmen, and federal agents, and the Department of Justice and Attorney General willing to prosecute the mission to keep Americans safe. And President Trump has rightly stated that this heinous act will be investigated, and he has thanked the National Guardsmen and women and the men and women of law enforcement.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Did the suspect say anything at the time? Why did the West Virginia governor...
So there you have it, you guys. That is the latest that we have coming out, that with Kash Patel and that press briefing right now on what is going on with the shooting that has taken place. I'm checking the live feeds. I know a lot of people were saying that they have heard that those people had deceased, the 2 National Guards had passed, but then there was information coming out saying that they have not, and that they're actually in critical condition. Now, I am keeping an eye on the live feeds, so that way as more information comes out, I can let you know exactly what's happening here. But we're hearing that right now they are still investigating. We're still trying to find out more about the individual that shot the 2 National Guards members. We're hearing that it was a targeted attack, so this was specifically going for the National Guards. We're hearing that they are severely wounded right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at this coming out from Live Now with Fox. Trump says the suspect is severely wounded. So a lot of people asking about the individual that did this. Let's take a look and see if we can get some more information here.
We want to, again, continue to bring you the latest updates that we are getting into our newsroom right here on Live Now from Fox with the situation out in D.C. President Trump has put out a statement on Truth Social regarding the shooting, saying the animal that shot the 2 National Guardsmen, with both being critically wounded and now in 2 separate hospitals, is also severely wounded, but regardless, will pay a very steep price. God bless our great National Guard and all of our military and law enforcement. These are truly great people. I, as President of the United States, and everyone associated with the office of the presidency, am with you. So that is the statement there from President Trump, putting that out just moments ago on Truth Social, also saying that the suspect was injured as well. That active investigation going on right now. Let's continue to bring you the very latest from Fox 5 DC. Their coverage continues right now.
Using it as a tool, but these are an example why you need that, because if we can get a picture of the guy, a person with a hoodie, guy or woman, and they can track it down by looking at the cameras and tracking other people with hoodies, that is stuff that helps us as investigative tools.
Right,
so much
and I want to just interrupt you here for a second. Fox 5 learning from sources that 3 people were transported from that scene, 2 National Guard members and 1 other person, all 3 with gunshot wounds. And at this hour, we're not sure what that 3rd person's condition is, the extent of the injuries, but we are learning that the 2 National Guard members are suffering critical injuries, taken to the hospital right now. So 3 people in total transported from that scene here in the last hour. And you see that very heavy police presence. And when we talk about the National Guard being in the district, we know at one point their numbers were as high as 1,500. And just in the last week, a judge ruling that states allowing their National Guards members to be here in D.C. was unlawful. They put that on pause just to not mess with operational security and their operations. But that was supposed to expire on December 11th. Just in a few short weeks, they were meant to return back to their homes. We don't know where the 2 who have been shot were from, if they're from D.C., if they're from another state. We are learning that their condition right now is critical, but 3 people in total taken. And
There you have it, you guys. Let's go ahead and keep taking a look at some of the updates so you can see the information coming out on this.
And right now, the White House is releasing a statement. Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, saying that the White House is aware and actively monitoring this tragic situation, and the president has been briefed.
We've been listening to Fox 5 DC coverage. We will continue to be giving you the latest updates. We'll check back in with them in just moments, but we want to give you some additional updates that we are learning from our newsroom right now. And we are being told by the DC Police Department, this is a big update, that the scene is secured. One suspect right now in custody. So that is good news, as there was reports there of maybe the active shooter was still going on, but now that suspect in custody. Also getting updates, 2 members of the National Guard were shot near the White House, per DC Police, and DHS Secretary Noam says that Trump has been briefed per his press secretary. Details still unclear at this time. And Secretary Noam putting out on X saying, please join me in praying for the 2 National Guardsmen who were just shot moments ago in Washington, D.C. DHS is working with local law enforcement to gather more information. And we are going to be keeping an eye on this story, of course, for you, waiting for more major updates. We'll be waiting to see what President Trump says in the coming moments. We'll be checking his Truth Social. But in the time being, let's go back out. More coverage, Fox 5 DC with the latest.
And so we have seen them. All right, we do have our Julie Donaldson live on the street here. So we're going to toss out live to her. Julie, can you tell us what you're seeing?
Yeah, so Homa, we're here on I Street, and there is a heavy police presence. You can see a bunch of police lights flashing down here on I Street. The whole road is blocked off as we are walking up. There is police that is directing cars to go in opposite directions as this road is closed off. We're working our way a little bit closer, so we don't really have any information on anything as of now. But as we were leaving Capital One Arena, getting ready for that game, you heard police coming from all different directions. And obviously it was very clear that something was going on, but you can just see by the amount of cars that are here right now, the amount of flashing lights. This is a pretty big scene. People are walking around trying to wonder what is going on, what is happening here. As we do get closer, of course, we'll bring you every bit of information that we can gather, but all we have right now is that these streets are just lined with every kind of cop car and every kind of presence that they can to figure out what is going on as we do get closer to the metro station.
What do we know? Julie, we see dozens and dozens of police officers there right now, MPD saying that the scene is secure. Give us for perspective of folks who are just now joining in here at the top of the hour, how close are you to the White House?
It looks like we're probably about a block off of it here. We are just past 16th and I. We're coming up to Connecticut Boulevard right now. There's a lot of people that are really curious as to, what is going on. You're seeing a lot of folks standing around here. As you see, there is the police tape that has all of this blocked off. Fire, rescue, police, heavy military presence. You can see the National Guard over there on the other side as well. Again, we're not too far off from the White House here at I and Connecticut Street, right next to the metro station, the Farragut Metro Station as well, which is where they say that the Metro Police were saying that there was an active issue going on here, and they're telling people to stay away from it. But of course, the curiosity has a lot of folks here trying to wonder just what is going on, as we're trying to figure that out ourselves.
Right, and we see the crowd of people, and we also see the National Guard members there on the corner of the street. I see that they've cordoned off the road in the area, not just to vehicle traffic, but also obviously to pedestrian traffic. So it is a very secure scene. They've clearly locked everything down there in the area of 17th and 16th and I Street in Northwest where you are.
Are you in Yeah, you do. And you have a lot of tourists here that are here for the holidays. You know, people coming in, wanting to be able to explore down TDC. You have a lot of hotels, a lot of people that are out enjoying this weather. It was a really beautiful day, an abnormally warm day for this time of the year. So there's been a lot of presence of foot traffic around the city right now. And police have been telling and trying to get the word out, telling people to stay away from the area, give them some space to be able to do the work that they need to do. But again, there's just so many people that are out right now. A lot of people trying to take pictures with their phones. We can't quite see exactly what is happening on the other side of those police cars. But again, you do see the National Guard over there. You do see police coming and going. A lot of marked cars, a lot of unmarked cars here as well. And they have the entire street in this area blocked off with the police line of do not enter, do not cross. So for anybody that is trying to get around here, you are going to have to go all the way around, either if you're on foot or for any car traffic. So a little bit of a backup as they are trying to make sure that they keep this scene as clear and as safe for them to be able to do their investigation as possible. Homa.
Thank you so much. I'm going to let you go and gather information here for a few minutes, but as we see on your live pictures, you see ATF, Secret Service, National Guard, and we are just now hearing the AP is reporting that a suspect is in custody. Julie, we'll check back in with you here in just a few minutes. Thank you so much.
There you have it, you guys. So we're hearing that they have apprehended somebody. We heard the president said that that individual is in critical condition, but we're going to be seeing what unfolds here as we get more information on this. Now, we've got some more video footage. Let me just share with you everything we've got coming in here. And initially, we had heard that those 2 National Guards had passed, but then we heard that that was incorrect, that the information that was provided on that was incorrect, that they are in critical condition. So still waiting to see if there's any updates on that as well. There's those 2 National Guards shot outside of the White House today. Let's take a look at some more updates.
All right, that event continues on right there in a digital form. We come back live with some breaking news that we are monitoring outside near the White House. We are learning from the Associated Press reporting right now that 2 National Guardsmen have been shot near the White House. Active investigation is going on right now, and you can see the report there from the AP. Darlene Superville saying 2 National Guard members have been shot in Washington, D.C., and their condition isn't known at this time. We want to go out to the coverage of Fox 5 D.C., and looks like they are on this right now. Let's just show you the vantage point and the scene that you are seeing right now play out in D.C. Let's listen in from Fox 5 D.C.
There was reportedly an active shooter near 17th and I Streets. You see D.C. police on scene. You know, more than a dozen cruisers are there near 17th and I. This is near the White House.
Yeah, so Homa, the National Guard, as we know, they have been stationed across the city with mainly a support role for that federal surge that President Trump put into effect over the summer. But we have also seen a scaling back. We have also seen legal challenges to it. We know that some were supposed to be sent home. There was a recent ruling that the Guard was here illegally, but there was a 3-week wait for the Trump administration to be able to challenge that. So still a lot of people stationed here from not just here in D.C. as well, but also Guard members from Ohio, Louisiana, Tennessee, West Virginia as well.
And if you've been in D.C., in and around the district, any time in the last few months, you have seen them. They are at metro stops. They are at the National Mall. They have been walking all around city streets. Chris, like you said, they have been starting to dwindle their numbers down.
We also, remember, there was a debate over whether or not they would be armed when they were on the street, whether they would be carrying weapons with them. So that is probably one of the major questions here, too, is whether or not, if this was a random attack, if they were armed and able to even defend themselves.
And, you know, right now, MPD saying that they're on scene. It's an active shooting, 17th and I Street. They're asking people avoid the area. They're shutting down streets. It appears that the White House area around the White House may be locked down. Yemisi, you know, you are in and around the White House so often. When something like this happens, we know they're the most well-trained people in the world around that building.
Right. So we know that Secret Service immediately responded to it. And I'm sure that East Exec and West Exec and the road that divides the White House and the Treasury building, remember, there are employees probably at the Department of Treasury right now that are under lockdown as well. It's good to know for the viewers that the president and the first lady both left yesterday to Florida for Thanksgiving. So we know that the president isn't in the White House at this time. I'm sure that there are still senior advisors and maybe even some folks over at Treasury that are still in on Wednesday. If I was at the White House, I would still be working at this Wednesday, and will probably be not allowed to exit until it's given the all clear, which from the looks of it is going to take a long time to figure this out.
And right now there are a lot of road closures in and around the area. They're shutting down pedestrian and vehicle traffic between the 500 and 900 blocks of 17th Street. That goes from New York Ave to K Street Northwest, and the 800 block of Connecticut Avenue from H Street to I Street Northwest. So this is going to be a very active, very long investigation. We're just getting this information into the newsroom right now, but as of now, the AP is reporting that 2 National Guard members have been shot in D.C. This is, again, just a few blocks away from the White House, and we are not aware of what their condition is. But initially, sources are telling us that there was an active shooter in the area of 17th and I Street. A lot of road closures. This is closed to pedestrian and vehicular traffic right now. You know, a lot of people are already off for the Thanksgiving holiday in downtown D.C., so many people not at their office jobs today, so it may be a little less of an inconvenience to people when it comes to traffic in that area, but it's likely that the area around the White House will be locked down. We do not know right now if there is a suspect in custody or the condition of the 2 National Guard members who have reportedly been shot in D.C. You're looking at Skyfox live pictures over the area of 17th and I Streets right now.
I'm just looking at some pictures in Slack as well that we have gotten from Dominic Sanchez, and it looks like a heavy police presence, both a combination of Secret Service, Metro Transit, MPD, all in the area of like Farragut Park there around 17th and K. That's right where Connecticut comes in as well. So a very heavily congested area, especially in what would normally be rush hour traffic. So you have to imagine that there are going to be some extensive road closures and delays in that area, especially for anyone trying to leave the city to start their holiday or just get home from work. Also a very popular area for tourists taking the metro, getting out of Farragut, making their way to those monuments.
There you have it, you guys. So we are hearing that is going on right now. We're still trying to figure out the identity of the attacker. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the live feed. That way you can see what we currently have here. It says D.C. Mayor calls the shooting of the National Guard members a targeted attack. It says live updates: 2 National Guard members shot near the White House. Suspect is in custody. 2 Guard members from West Virginia are in critical condition, and the suspect has also been injured as well. Now, the latest update is that both Guard members were shot in the head, sources say. Both of the National Guard members who were shot today in Washington, D.C. were shot in the head, according to a U.S. official and a senior official directly briefed on the investigation. So we're hearing that they are in critical condition. Have not heard anything about them officially being passed. Now, that was circulating around initially, but now we're hearing that they're in critical condition. They were, however, shot in the head. It is being reported as of 4 minutes ago. Authorities are still working to identify the shooter. Authorities believe they are close to identifying the man that they believe is responsible for today's targeted attack. 2 senior law enforcement officials briefed on the investigation say 2 Guard members are in critical condition, officials say. Bowser and FBI Director Kash Patel, we watched the video footage, said that the 2 Guard members are in critical condition. At a news conference this evening, Bowser described the incident as a targeted shooting. Patel said that the case will be treated as an assault on a federal law enforcement officer. Metropolitan Police Executive Assistant Chief Jeffrey Carroll said that the shooting occurred at 2:15 p.m. when a person came around the corner, raised his arm with a firearm, and discharged at the National Guard members. So that is the current live feeds that we have coming in on this. And we're waiting to see if we can get more information regarding what is going on, but we're hearing that they were both shot in the head, and it was a targeted attack against these National Guard members. And they said if you're a praying individual, to pray for the families of these Guard members as they were hit today in this attack. Now, let's take a look at this article here that I've pulled up that's going to give us a little bit more information. Just came out covering most of the details of what is going on here. Now, it says 2 National Guards troops shot near the White House in an ambush-style attack. Suspect is now in custody. It says a crazed gunman shot 2 National Guard troops in a cowardly ambush-style attack, leaving them in critical condition just blocks from the White House on Wednesday, according to law enforcement sources and officials, who promptly confirmed that the suspect was in custody. So we do know that an individual has been apprehended. We don't have much on that individual that has been released yet. The gunman rounded the corner and 17th and I Street outside of Farragut West Metro Station in Northwest D.C. around 2:15 p.m. before ambushing the pair of Guard members and opening fire. Metro Police Department Executive Assistant Chief Jeffrey Carroll said at a press conference. There were other members that were in the area. They were able to, after some back and forth, subdue the individual and bring them into custody, added Carroll. Within moments, members of law enforcement in the area were able to assist and bring the individual into custody. Now, the armed soldiers exchanged gunfire with the shooter and were joined by other guardsmen stationed nearby who rushed to the area after hearing shots ringing out, along with local law enforcement. Photos in the aftermath of the horrifying daylight assault showed one of the troops was shot in the head near Farragut Square, a bustling public park with restaurants and retail shopping stores in between the Farragut West and Farragut North metro stations. Now, glass was strewn about the crime scene from the bursts of gunfire as bystanders rushed to cover in what Carroll called a targeted attack. FBI Director Kash Patel declared that the Bureau and its law enforcement partners would use all of our resources to make sure that we find the perpetrator responsible for this heinous act, vowing that they will be brought to justice. Now, please send a prayer to those brave warriors. They are the heroes of this day, and we must remember them every day and remember their sacrifice, he said at a press conference in hours following the shooting. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey posted on X around 3:40 p.m. that both service members from his state had passed away from their injuries, but 20 minutes later added that he was receiving conflicting reports about the condition of the 2 Guards members and will provide additional updates once he receives more complete information. Mayor Muriel Bowser ignored the reporters shouting questions. Oh, excuse me, it appears here. Here we go. Mayor Muriel Bowser ignored a reporter's shouted question about apparently premature posts and subsequent walking back. Authorities confirmed at 4:45 that news conference that the 2 Guard members were transported to a hospital in critical condition. They also said the unidentified suspect, who was hauled away nearly naked in an ambulance, had attacked alone. So they're saying this was a lone actor, one individual. Now, law enforcement sources told the Post that the suspect, who has not been identified, was shot 4 times. Tourist Tim Moya of Newton, Georgia, said that he was about a block away from the shooting when it happened, and he heard 2 gunshots, a brief pause, and then 3 more. A rush of people ran his way and said somebody was shooting. A parking garage attendant a half a block away said that he heard about 8 shots before rushing inside, along with many other pedestrians. It's scary, said a clearly shaken uniformed worker, speaking in broken English as she ventured out of the workplace near K Street, the major road synonymous with D.C.'s lobbying. D.C. Metro Police Department confirmed the shooting occurred a little after 2:30 p.m. at 17th and I Street, NW, and that the suspect was in custody. FBI, ATF, and Secret Service agents also responded as well. Both President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance were outside of D.C. at the time of the shooting, with Trump in Florida and Vance visiting troops in Kentucky. The animal that shot the 2 National Guardsmen, with both being critically wounded and now in 2 separate hospitals, is also severely wounded. but regardless, will pay a steep, very steep price, Trump posted on his True Social. God bless our great National Guard and all of our military and law enforcement. These are truly great people. I, as President of the United States, and everyone associated with the office of the presidency, am with you. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said that the shooting would only stiffen our resolve as he announced another 500 troops would be deployed to join the more than 2,000 National Guard members in D.C. At least one of the National Guard service members was administered CPR, law enforcement sources added. The suspect is also now at a D.C. hospital. A ground stop was later issued at Ronald Reagan National Airport outside of D.C. for departing flights over security concerns. The White House is aware and actively monitoring this tragic situation. The president had been briefed. The White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt added in a statement shortly after the barrage of gunfire. Members of the U.S. Secret Service were photographed responding to the incident after the shooting in Farragut Square, about a 5-minute walk from the executive mansion. One source counted at least 20 shell casings at the scene immediately afterward. Wow, and there is actually an image of one of those hit National Guards. So there you have it, you guys. That is the latest information that we have on what is going on now. As more comes out, I'll be sure to let you know here on the channel. But if you're a praying individual, please say a prayer for those National Guard members and their families. As we're seeing this attack that just took place, we're still awaiting information on the suspects, but what we're hearing is that today 2 National Guardsmen were shot near the White House, just about a block or so away, shot in the head. It was one individual. That individual and the 2 that were shot are in critical condition as that individual was apprehended. We're going to see if any more details come out, but again, if you're a praying individual, say a prayer for them in the attacks that unfolded today in Washington, D.C. in this shooting. Terrible news coming out on this. I'll continue to keep you up to date on everything as it unfolds. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.